nobody really realized that we have what, 2,000 foot of fence back there? If we're honest, I mean, it's not like we started tabulating these numbers in our head. We didn't.
I don't think we had a clue it would take that many hours of weed whacking.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying that it, I'm not saying that it could be
Playground and stuff.
No, I don't think we anticipated that.
Can I ask how many hours when you say that, Sherry? Like,
Let me walk to the other room and I'll get a copy of the invoice. I have it, and apparently I put it, and I had those little packets we all had, but I left it in the other
I'm just saying, I
room.
don't know if it was 10, 20, 5, 50,
It was hundreds of dollars, I know that, for weed whacking. $90 an hour. So, and I'm not saying that it didn't look great. It definitely did. And I know that they put lots more hours in it than what they charged us. But I just don't, yes, it is. And I'm thankful like most other of our jobs. I just don't think that we anticipated that amount of money when they did the budget.
Well, it was, you know, the budget was done based on the previous year's expenditures. This has not been a normal year. This has not been
This
a
is a
normal
bad-
year.
This is a
Rain year,
year.
Yeah.
Everybody's,
It's been hard.
whoever in the family does a lawn cut knows how bad of a year this has been. Because
Well,
the lawns haven't died. I've talked to professionals in town that own multi-buildings. They blew their budget away a month ago because they had to cut it so frequently.
Well, and the other thing is like when you have a lawn care, you had 3 or 4 guys running around with trimmers and weed whackers and that kind of stuff. They're trying to do it just 2 people.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fact, but that's why lawn care companies are charging a couple $100 an hour to do weed whacking.
Yeah, those
And they
other
are.
proposals were
They come in and they cut
$1,500
next door to my house, they whip in there like it takes them 15 minutes, but you know what? It's $200.
Yeah, but they're going like 90 miles
You know,
an hour.
So on
grass cut all
6/13,
over, uncut. I
we
mean,
weed whacked. It was 4.5 hours at $90 at $405. Then on 6/16, I'm going to just use this bill for that month.
You're fine.
It's a
And that was the
7.
first month, too. so they were still figuring it
7/6/23.
out,
So they were trying to figure what was going to happen next. Then they mowed the grounds at 575, which then on 5/17/23 they dragged the south 2 ball diamonds, which was 2 hours. On 6/17 fixed the gate at the west side because the gate was broke of the ball field. It ended up costing.
Scott and Kelly dragged the fields?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just me.
Okay. Just Scott, yeah.
So they did that. That $90 an hour was $270. 6/17 filling holes and ruts west side of the ball diamond. $90, $270, and then mowed township grounds on 6/23. So we went from 6/16 to 6/23. And it was $575. On 6/24, weed whack 2 hours was $90. And on 6/28, that was where it was 6 days apart. We seen over here, or was it 5 days?
Yeah.
That was the 5 days, and that was $575.
So like,
And that was only for June.
yes.
Yeah,
He's
that was.
basing everything on June's thing.
Well, and if you look at, you know, the sheet that
Oh, wait a
you
minute. There's
prepared.
another page.
Oh.
6 cut out goal post and place soccer goal post. Oh yeah, that was my thing. I said pull the soccer post out, so that's $180. Brush removal, south side 7/2, 4 hours was $360, and 7/5 mowed township grounds for $575. It was $4,145. Now, just as a defense, the very first invoice that came in on 5/31 was 2, 4, 6, 7 lawn cuts from April through May. Tractor usage to enroll the ball fields for $450. And then skid steer and trailer $700 to level $88.49 of gravel.
And that was the previous.
And,
Can I put my head around the 4,145 is total?
yeah,
From May to,
was
July?
from
June first, they said.
June 1st to 7/6.
okay.
So, you know, just as an example, so just in 2 months, yeah, we spent $9,000.
But now, wasn't the grass cut towards the end of May? It was cut the 31st.
It was cut
but then
4
it was
days
cut
apart at the
4
beginning
days.
of, in April, the end of April, it was cut 4 days apart. It was cut on the 24th and 28th. Then in May, it was cut on the 5th and the 11th, which is 6 days. 19th,
11th and 19th, so that was 8 days, the 19th and the 26th, which is 7 days, and then it was cut again on the 31st, so that was only 5 days apart. This was the previous one that wrapped up at the end of
so,
May.
you know,
So there wasn't any question about that span of time last year.
no,
There
this was
wasn't
this
any-
year.
No,
This
I
was in
know, I
May.
understand, but there was no question last year about how frequently it was being cut. Granted, we didn't have as wet of a season, but I can tell you that I talked to somebody else that made the exact same comment when Cynics were doing, like, why are they already out there cutting again? A guy that owns a landscape company. Can't believe they're out there cutting again, they were just cutting it. So,
Wow.
you know, but that was never questioned here, and that certainly was never addressed
I
with
think,
a letter from one member of the board without the rest of the board's knowledge, making a unilateral decision, which is not what the law provides for.
that's kind of where the ripples, and what, I'm sorry, you're sitting at the end of the table, but you have heard me complain about grass.
That's what I mean. I mean, there was no difference in how often they were cutting it versus how often you guys were cutting it, but yet you always complained about them, but,
Well, when
and
they
it was
get,
the complete opposite, and there was no difference, so.
There was
well, the only
You
difference
were
is we don't look out the
quality,
window and
right?
see piles of hay. And we did last year, which I didn't
You
understand.
are right now. You are today. You did the last time we cut. It was really
9
wet.
days.
Well, the problem is, the cut is actually approved by the board though, 1 day a week. And,
I just hope that we understand that the park is being, you know, when it looks so wonderful, and I'm not saying it hasn't for all these years, but we've had our times when there was. I just know when I've been down there, 3 walkers, there's a family right now, Norma Klender, who is Cindy Klender's, her daughter there, her kids are here using the middle field right now, 2 boys, as I just drove through there prior to the meeting. You know, we've got the ball hitters. Anyways, Jim Allen has been always out here doing that, but there were 3 families that were at the playground, and there were 3 people that were walking in different groups. It was sort of nice, it's nice to see that, so, we are seeing use, and anyways.
that's what it's
I
all
just-
about.
Yeah, so, it's nice to see that.
I think looking more toward the positive and, you know, trying to go forward, but as we're,
That's all we've ever tried to make positive. And then some people turn positives into negatives. And
well,
why? I don't know. Somebody likes tearing apart the township. And it's not right. Cause you don't take what people do for free and tear them up. You don't. And Johnny Esler, you know, Sue and her family, you know,
I think,
people are not donating time anymore because they're unappreciative.
well, it's called having an attitude of gratitude. We talk about it all the time in other organizations, and this letter didn't help with me in trying to be grateful or any other
Not at
thing.
all.
It took away a lot.
Because we've done nothing wrong. Nothing
Um,
wrong. Why are we being dissed for nothing wrong? Once a week, weed whacking, pickleball courts, pulling weeds, painting benches, cleaning bathrooms back there. That the custodian's supposed to do and he doesn't. But that's all right.
And making sure it looks nice for the
And
people that do show
We've
up.
tried.
And
I
spraying-
appreciate it.
Spraying, do you want, if, we don't have any kids. But if you go in and you spray those place grounds with Roundup, And then you go and you turn kids loose and they're crawling
They
around
need to
their
be
hands
marked
and knees and stuff like that.
to stay
Even
off
that,
until it
even that,
rains.
I mean, we never allowed our dog on the grass for a week after we sprayed Roundup. And even now you're gonna put human beings that are 3, 4 years, 5 years old, you know, go play in some Roundup. Have fun.
I fully understand, because I was the one that was all upset last year when I showed up for a planning commission meeting, and there were chemicals sprayed, because I seen it being done, and kids playing on the grass.
And that wasn't
That's
approved,
what messed everything up.
that wasn't approved, and then it wasn't approved again this year.
Well, last year, we did allow spraying, but the problem was that it was never marked. And the
Because
people
they
that
weren't
did it were
properly
never
licensed.
certified. And even though we were told they were certified, it didn't happen. So this year, we erred on caution, and we said no chemicals. Let's give the ground a chance.
So how many laws are we gonna break?
Well-
Until we wake up and say, wow, man,
We're not breaking them right now, are we?
No.
No. And even, I don't know, supposedly there was a bill from Weiss's, and I have to assume they marked if they did spray, or they did, you know, there's a bill that says it was sprayed. That's
It's
all I
marked.
do know.
Back
It was
in May,
marked.
they
it was
marked,
marked, the sign was.
Whatever little-
the store
And
sign out.
they turned into you guys the proper documentation that is.
Yeah,
We'll
so
drive
I
it
have
up to
it
it.
Yeah.
attached to the
Mark
bill
it.
right now. I was
Because,
gonna have
you know,
guys see it, so I could pay the bill.
Well, that's not really the problem.
The
They need to
problem
be
was it
licensed, but
wasn't-
the problem is there was no board authorization for that.
We never
action.
authorized it.
We never
We said-
authorized that.
We weren't
And that
gonna
would
go
have
that route, and then it got
Well, you
happened.
only- I understand that, and I'm not saying.
But
that's
now they're
right.
caught in the minutia of it.
Not- Yeah,
They're caught in the minutia of, we said no, and then it happened. And then, how do you spend government money when you said you weren't gonna do it?
And see, who gets the repercussions? Are we getting the repercussions for that at all?
No, you should not. That should not fall on you guys.
Well, then, I
You
don't know
didn't-
whatever we're doing wrong. I wish somebody would point out whatever we're doing wrong, in some people's eyes.
Well, you know what? Here's the deal.
we feel kind of picked on.
I guess I'm
We're
gonna
being
put it this
bullied.
way.
We're being
And-
bullied. We
we-
ain't being picked on, we're being
I
bullied.
understand. Follow me for just a minute. Every one of us can look at that wall, and every one of us will see something different, yes or no? Somebody's gonna see the curling calendar, somebody's gonna see the clock at the top, somebody's gonna say stainless steel light switches, that seems odd. You know, our family had bronze ones. I'm just saying. Some people notices that there's a lot of doors, but you gotta have two, an entry and an exit. The moral of the story is, we all looked at the same wall, we all saw something different, and not one of us is wrong. Because we all saw something different. And so now, the deal is, you know, I look at the lawn, I think the lawn looks good. I think I've said that. The lawn looks good.
A lot of people have,
There were
a
times,
lot of people.
you
Until
know,
recently.
but
last
now,
2 weeks.
we have to, sadly to say, and it's hard to get out of the sewage pit, but the reality is once something negative happens, it tears down all the good. So now it has to get rebuilt. Okay? Yes?
Can I just assume, so they are still cutting, and that's the understanding, the proposals, they're still employed? There's
Yes.
just language being put together to
Well,
make sure everyone's on the same page? Am I correct?
I would think there should be a job description so they know what they can and cannot do.
Yes.
I mean, even if there's not a signed contract, there's got to be a job description.
Right.
That's what we're gonna do right now.
Yes.
So the job description will be, so that you guys know, and of course, we can't vote here,
That's
because
all
it's a work session. But we can take a job description to our next meeting,
right.
and then we could vote on it at the next meeting, on a Monday night meeting, a normal meeting, because we have no vote power here tonight. Okay?
So as a side note, because of the fact that this was taken in as a proposal for lawn mowing and there weren't really any specifics, right? That were
Right.
given, you know, and that's
Okay.
where the RFP kind of varied a little bit, where the RFP had at least some basic idea of what
Yeah.
you needed to do. Because of the fact that this was done as a, hey, just give you a bid to mow the lawn, there was never any parameters given.
Right.
You know, you're gonna mow
I
this much
understand that.
lawn, it's this much acreage, this is how far you go, this is where you stop, you do this, you don't do this. None of that was ever explained.
Well, it wasn't even explained, we have this amount of money, what can we do with it?
Well,
I-
the
That's
problem with the
our
money,
problem,
Yeah.
the money issue
because,
is something we will have to revisit. Because if we can find a few cents here, last year we found 15,000 to make sure that other jobs that we know have to get done, okay? So there's a way, I remember Craig telling me this countless times, you know, he can find the money. We're not saying go stupid or go crazy,
right,
but
right.
at the same time, this is an exceptional year. Unless it gets cold early, we'll be cutting grass
and I
till
know that-
Christmas.
In the beginning, it was a lot of time for cleanup, extra cleanup stuff.
Catch up.
I mean, like
Yes.
those, the brush and stuff like that, you know, well, that, yeah, that was a lot of money, but we don't have to do that again, right?
Right,
There's
that,
Yeah,
that was.
those
in
are
there.
That was
done.
something that was
The
sitting there
June's-
for,
The June's bill,
Yeah.
and, you know, that was us, us seeing a lot of things that
Right,
needed to be done.
right,
And like I
right.
said, there was a lot of extra things that I did, while Scott maybe weed whacked for 5-6 hours. I was doing different things like sweeping down the daddy long legs out of the bathroom and sweeping the floor, pulling weeds and whatnot, because, like Sue said, the playgrounds look terrible. And I showed you some before and after pictures of me doing them. And I even explained to you that there was no charge for that, that I was here.
The hard part, and I think it's almost necessary, that when they invoice us, they need to comment of what other duties, or what other items were accomplished on the grounds.
We didn't want that to be confusing.
Well, if
You
you
know.
put it off to the side, you know, we noticed these
Future
things,
planning. For
these,
future planning.
these things needed to be accomplished. The lavatories were, you know, and I gotta tell you, the lavatory thing sounds really stupid, but I have been by here at night, or be in the fire department and leave, and I see the police pull back there and use the lavatories, because they know they're clean, and they know they're unlocked. And they
A
come,
lot of
they pull in and they
consumers
use
will
our
pull back
bathrooms
there.
here.
Bay
I-
County pulls in there.
I find it actually
the
impressive.
mail person does too.
Because they
I saw
know
the
our
mail person in the rain
bathrooms
the
are
other day.
clean. And, you know, that sounds dumb to some people, but, you know, I don't think it
Well, and I
is.
don't know that Gary's ever been told that those need to be clean.
Well, and I'm
And
glad you
that's
brought
his
that up,
job.
because, you
So-
know, we've been saying that for a long time, that there needs to be specifics of what needs to be accomplished and at what frequency for every job.
Yeah.
For every job that needs to be there,
Basic,
because it's not happening.
basic description of duties, so
Duties.
that, you know,
Yeah,
Well, two things, you know, even one, I know back when we had the rec, with Dale Bloomwell, we did there was a newsletter, you know, new mother-in-law was here years back, and, you know, that we sent out, I know that's, but do you have the page? Do you have a page, right? I
she
never
does
looked at it.
newsletters, she just
Yeah,
did a
you-
nice one about, we got a beautiful
Online.
park.
Right, perfect. And to say to people, we do have dusk to dusk, it's an automatic shut off like it used to be, right? The locks go, they click on it. You know, just to remind people, you have a safe place to walk, safe place to play pickleball, you know, it's a nice facility of how many acres. Just to remind people that are new. And then my next question, we had, you know, money coming in, I know, I feel, and I don't want to misquote myself because I don't dig into that real well, but good grant money and things, and then of course they approved. But is there any rec money coming from the state? Because there's so much out there. Because they want us to keep, you know, physical fit areas, kind of, you know, places where people can walk.
They do,
Have passed,
but we
We
haven't
don't have
applied
any
for no
coming in.
grants,
so no money automatically comes in because of our park, to
Nope.
say for upkeep, no, okay.
I mean, I know we
Oh,
participated in that
definitely.
5-year park plan through the county.
Right.
So I mean, I guess I was under the assumption that because we participate in that, any grant money that they apply for and get, they would disperse it to the townships that, because
Do we
we
get
have to,
anything, or-
right?
Have we been receiving anything that you know?
Not
of?
that I know.
The gal that did that when I was around here, she's with Hampton Township now, I think, or maybe she still is with the county.
I can always ask Jim Barsha.
I just know that there's so much out there too.
And the state's getting money left and right, so you never know. It could be a very, you know, the Department of Health and Human Services would know, because they would actually take care of
Right.
certain funds because of it being recreation,
Right.
and they want people to do stuff.
Well, just, I know when we sort of trailed off and we were like, okay, we're done, we had hopes of like 3 different, like the spray park in Bay City before they ever did that at the state park. We talked about like we could get the firemen to do a fire one and farmers to do a this, or, and have 3 little ones where, gosh, you can come here, you can play, you can get sprayed from 3 different things. I'm not saying that would ever come to fruition, but that was sort of a grand plan, as well as that pile, like a dirt pile for snow sledding.
Sledding.
Yeah.
Bob Bennett's, when I was a kid, I'm 57, but when he had a little pond for us behind the hall. He did that, that's how much he loved, so do the math. I was like in 5th grade, and that was a big deal to be loved here. And so that tells you how long he loved this place, and he created that and flooded it for us. I don't know that it really lasted long, but, so that was the treasure we had here. So when you wonder about these proposals, I think you had people that were just, they were fellow neighbors, and you trusted them to be like, so.
Well,
And you have been here a long time, but, I mean, when you wonder about proposals and why was this allowed, it was just good local people, Kirk Shank, I think, took care of the hall for a long time. Again, other side of Parish Road, she was convenient, half a mile away.
But people took pride in it.
Right.
And, and I think something that you've touched upon that really resonates with me is the fact that that was a long time ago and times are very different now.
Right.
And I think that if we continue to just maintain what worked years ago, we're missing what works now. I mean, just like the tennis court. If you would have redone that as a tennis court, you wouldn't have nearly as much activity because now pickleball is the thing. So now we have that as an option. I think, unfortunately, that the same is somewhat true with the ball diamonds. You don't have as much activity. Kids are different now than they were 20 years ago.
And that's where you get creative and you do a
Kickball.
kickball.
Right.
Can you do the goofy things, so.
There's
Yeah.
other ways that we
Yes.
could reinvent what the park is used for based on what is happening now. It's not what it used to be. So rather than killing ourselves to try to maintain something that isn't really going to be used, we could reinvent the space with some creative thinking to actually make it something that will attract people again that look at things differently than they used to. But that's a whole conversation.
so, cutting grass, which is the general park, leaving the ditch alone, correct? Because the ditch is cut by somebody else, isn't it?
Yeah, the guy with the big,
Okay,
the,
so cut grass, no ditches.
Correct.
Would that be correct? So you
Well,
only
you can
go as
just
far
cut
as what's
grass once a
considered
week.
safe.
Like where it starts to
Yep.
drop is where you start.
Well, it's once a week, but one of the things I have a question mark in my brain about, Kelly cut our grass Friday. We have a low back and a high front. I looked at it thinking, it doesn't need to be cut. I went out and cut, the whole backyard had to be raked. I thought I was cutting it high. Don't say a thing, Susan.
That's what I was just gonna say, just cut it high and you cut where it's
I
short.
tried to cut it high, and that high, it shot out too much grass. So then I had to go through and make a row so that it could get raked up, because there was no raking.
Yeah.
She broke the new lawnmower.
Oh, no.
So, you make the best of it. I blew it all in one spot so it could be cleaned up. But if we know it's going to definitely be raining,
maybe as needed.
can we say 6 days is not unheard of, especially since it's been so ungodly wet? Now granted, we can't approve this till our next
Right,
meeting in
right,
2
right.
weeks, or 3 weeks, 3 weeks.
We need to plan around
But-
rain, and
But,
Shirley only was the one that was up front. When I had spoke
yeah.
with Sam the day, and he had told me that 5 days was unacceptable, and I had said, no, because we cut because of 5 days, because we're looking at the next, they were talking the
3
next
days.
6 days
Yeah.
of rain. And he said, it's not gonna rain, where are you getting your weather forecast? And I
Well-
said, well, 5, 25, and I rambled on. And
But,
he was not getting any headway with me, because I told him, I'm out there, I see what's blowing out of the chute. Yes, there's spots that are not bad, but there's spots that you need to cut over 3-4 times to try to mulch it, because it lays there, it looks
man,
horrible, and I'm sorry, I'm a very prideful person,
I get
We've
it,
tried to get this place whipped into shape.
and keep it in shape. That's
Well,
the key, trying to keep
Yes,
Maintain them.
you know, does it need to be